Hello everyone, my name is Naomi. Welcome back to my channel. I tried to make a video for you guys over the weekend, but the lighting was just terrible. My plan was to make a video in the morning or make a couple of videos, but we had thunderstorms and it was raining, and I'm always watching for good lighting because I know that the lighting sometimes isn't that great, and the best lighting is in this porch and usually in the morning, afternoon. Anyway, because of all the thunderstorms and the rain, it ended up being dark. So that didn't work out so well. Last video I made, I talked about my zero waste journey, how I got started, that kind of thing. So today, since it is Monday, I want to talk about my prepping journey. And I did briefly mention this in my 9/11 video not that long ago. I talked about how my family, they were kind of Y2K. Let's just talk about Y2K. My family was into prepping for Y2K. They talked about it a lot. It was kind of an obsession. But I turned 18 that year, and then of course for 9/11 I was 19 because that was in 2001, and there was a lot of fear and uncertainty around that time for me, but I was so poor that there was no hope of me prepping. It wasn't going to happen. I didn't have money for food. I barely had money to pay my rent. I was working this little part-time job in a restaurant. So prepping was not something I even considered at that time. I was just worried about where's my next meal coming from because I was so poor. And shortly after that, I met my husband. We got married. I had gotten a job at Walmart. I met my husband and we got married, we had our daughter, and then we ended up moving to Illinois. Still didn't think about prepping, still super poor, raising a child, and then eventually a second child. And money's tight when you're young, you're newly married, you have babies. Prepping wasn't something that I really thought about at that time. I probably should have because of the fact that I had babies, but we were more concerned with paying the bills, making ends meet, making sure that we had food for our babies, and making sure that they had diapers and all the things that they needed. So I didn't even think about it. It wasn't until, I started working at Walmart again in 2000, because I had left Walmart for a few years. 2006, I went back to Walmart. I was housewares department. 2012, 2013, something like that was when I became the department manager of sporting goods and automotive. And the one thing that really stood out to me was this shortage of ammo. I literally had guys waiting in line, waiting for me every morning to see if I'd gotten 22 shells in. And while they're there waiting while I go through the ammo and find out what I need, a lot of them would talk, and they would talk about prepping and how important it was that we have ammunition on hand. And so I learned some things from these guys, and it kind of took me back to my roots when I was a child. And I remember my grandma talking about prepping and having food on hand, being prepared for emergencies, being prepared for civil unrest, being prepared for pretty much anything that came along. So that all took me back to that time. And the guys would talk about things like a bug out bag. Now, I had never, until that point, I hadn't even heard of a bug out bag. I just knew that prepping for emergencies meant you had extra food and water on hand. That was the minimum. So at that time, I started building myself 4 bug out bags. One for me, one for my husband, and one for each kid. So different size bug out bags, because my kids were smaller at the time than they are now. Now I could probably upgrade them to a little bit larger of a bug out bag, but I haven't done so yet because my focus, and I realized this was crazy, the focus shouldn't be mostly on bugging out. That's, you should plan for staying in place, and then bugging out should be a thing that you do if you absolutely have to. So I had built these bug out bags, and I may do a video showing you my bug out bags, and then we'll see, you know, what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, what are things I'm missing from these bug out bags, because I think that would make an interesting video. But I started building these bug out bags, and that was a slow process because of the fact that I was buying supplies for 4 bags. Building a single bug out bag can get very expensive when you start thinking about all the things you want to include in that bug out bag. So building 4 bags took me a really long time because I don't spend a lot of money on prepping. It happens slowly. I have a family to support. Prepping isn't something that I see where you cash out your 401k and go buy thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of food. That's crazy, because it would all spoil, and then if nothing happens, then you didn't prep for something that is so very important, and that is retirement and aging. Because I also believe that we should be prepared for normal life without civil unrest. If everything goes well, you should be prepared for that as well. So I do not believe that you should cash out your 401k and go spend it all on preps. I don't believe you should take out a loan and go spend it all on preps. You have to be financially smart about your prepping. So if you can't afford to prep, then you do it as you can afford it. You buy, let me just hold up for example, these Mountain House freeze-dried food. I have a bunch of these in the bug out bags, and I have a stash of these that I bought over the years, and the reason I bought them is because of their expiration date. I don't know if you can see that, but it says December of 2047. So this is a good thing to stock up on and have on hand, is this freeze-dried food. That's just one thing. Now, don't plan on living on that, because that is not a healthy diet to live on. You're going to need a whole lot more than that. What would be ideal is if people did things more like the way the Amish do it, where they have their big garden, they can their vegetables, and they store their vegetables and fruit and stuff for the next year. That would be ideal, but not everybody lives out in the country and lives like the Amish. So you do what you can in the location that you're at. If you can better your location, that would be excellent, but not everybody can afford to do that. My husband and I, our plan with prepping is to do things slowly. We plan to move out to the country, but it's not happening right this instant because financially it's just not doable. It doesn't make good sense. We only owe $2,000 on this house, and this house is paid off. So we're not going to say, quick and try to sell this house right now. No, we're going to pay off that $2,000, and then we're going to finish the remodel on the house before we think about selling the house. And honestly, the plan is to buy a piece of property in the country and build on that piece of property and continue to live in this house while we're building on that piece of property and building our homestead. So prepping for me happens very, very slowly. And it all started when I was the sporting goods department manager and was talking to all these guys who were buying ammunition because they were preppers. And it reminded me that we all should be prepared for emergencies, be prepared for natural disasters, be prepared for, and you can't prepare for every scenario, but you can prepare well enough that you can survive almost anything that is thrown at you. So I believe that we should do our prepping and do it slowly. Don't panic. Don't go nuts. Don't go to Sam's Club and drop thousands and thousands of dollars. If something was actually happening, in that case, maybe go out and buy some extra, but don't go insane and don't panic. Never panic. That is the secret right there. Be calm, be cool, be collected, and don't panic, because if you panic, you are not thinking clearly and you aren't using your head the way that you should, and you're going to make mistakes and you're going to screw up. It's just the way it is. So I don't panic. I stay calm. I pick up what I need a little bit here and there. Store extra rice, store extra grains, that kind of thing. Beans. Just slowly build up what you need and keep extra on hand. And you don't have to go excessive. You don't have to have years worth of food stashed, because that's a little bit crazy. But you should have something to care for your family in case of an emergency. And that is basically my prepping journey. And I'm going to continue to prep what I need to, but I also factor in that whole minimalism thing. I don't want to buy a bunch of junk that I don't need. So I won't be spending my hard-earned money on knickknacks and cutesy things. I'm not one of those women that has a closet full of shoes. I have a decent amount of clothing, yes, that I need to go through and donate some of, because I don't need all of it. But I don't have a stash of purses. I have one purse, and I will use it until it falls apart, and then I will buy another one. So I don't go out and frivolously spend on purses and shoes and knickknacks, and we don't go out to eat. We don't spend a lot of money on that. We try to be a little bit wiser about our money, and we like to be prepared. We like to have money on hand also in case, say, one of us gets hurt and can't work. That's another thing that is important and that I view as a part of prepping. Being prepared to take care of your family if one of you can't work. If my husband gets hurt and he can't work, we need to have that cushion, something in the bank, in order to support us until he is back on his feet and working. Now, it does also help that there are two of us working. So yes, it would hurt us to lose one income, but we could survive with what the other one makes. That is all I've got to say on that topic, guys. So I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will talk to you guys in a couple days when I come up with another great sustainability topic. So have a good one.